share your screen. And again, any comments in the chat, keep yourself on mute if you wouldn't mind, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me get my desktop here set up. Good morning, everybody. All right. So welcome to Unleash the Power of Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm going to cover kind of a random assortment of things today, kind of starting from the very basics, getting your Canvas set up, kind of moving into a little bit more difficulty as we go. A lot of this, I know we've got some administrative professionals that are on the line, and a lot of this is going to be tailored more towards kind of learning and development. But I encourage you all to kind of open your minds with this, use your imagination on just what you can create using this free tool. Microsoft has been around, or PowerPoint has been around for years and years and years. I think a lot of people have probably been in presentations where it's like death by PowerPoint, and they're trying to use these flashbang, crazy animations and transitions. And, you know, there's a time and place for those, but there's so many cool things. I geek out about stuff in PowerPoint. And so at any point, stop me, ask questions. If I move too fast through things, let me know. I would also encourage you to open up PowerPoint if you've got two monitors and can kind of balance between my desktop share and your own Canvas. It might just help to play around with things a little bit. Also, the good news about some of the things I'm going to show you, especially setting up your Canvas, some of the shortcuts and things, they are going to be applicable to other Microsoft products. Kind of the ribbon things and things I'll show you there. And then if you're an e-learning person that uses Articulate, specifically Storyline, I always tell people when I'm demoing Storyline that it's PowerPoint on steroids. So there's a lot of things that are going to correlate to multiple programs that you might already use today. So the other thing I wanted to mention, I am going to jump back and forth between kind of showing the official PowerPoint and kind of breaking it down and diving into kind of the how I built it. So I'm going to kind of flip back and forth between screens quite a bit through here. So to get started, like I mentioned, we're going to start by setting up our Canvas. Setting you up for success is probably the biggest advantage to diving into PowerPoint and having those shortcuts kind of right at your fingertips. There's a lot of commands and things that you can get to in PowerPoint, and I just like to have a lot of mine right on my screen. So I'm going to pop out here. This is the quick access toolbar. Sometimes it might show up in your top left corner. It's going to usually be pre-populated with like a save button, an undo button, but you can actually customize it to have some of your frequently used commands and tasks. So I usually start with that, customizing this. I actually just got a new laptop a couple weeks ago, so I've had to relearn how to do all of this stuff. So it's kind of still fresh in my mind. But you should have a little drop down here that allows you to customize with some, they kind of give you some basic functions that you might want to add to your toolbar here. And then you can jump into the more commands. And this is where you can really get into, this kind of shows what I have in mind. I align a lot of my objects, which we'll cover here in a minute. So I've just got some basic functions that instead of having to make 4 or 5 clicks into something, I just have them right here. So this is kind of something that you play with. You can add to it. You can take things back out. But this is probably my #1. Like when people watch me do stuff, they're like, "How'd you do that so fast?" I put everything that I need kind of right at my fingertips, so I don't have to hunt and peck for things throughout the different menus. Any questions on that before I kind of jump in?
Not seeing anything in the chat.
Perfect. So the other thing I want to mention is that PowerPoint doesn't have to just be your horizontal or landscape layout. And a lot of people think of PowerPoint as slideshows. I actually use PowerPoint when I'm creating things like job aids. I don't create marketing materials, but I equate things to marketing materials, brochures, more that vertical layout. And so I wanted to point out, I don't know if folks are familiar with the ability to change the orientation of your slides. So this one obviously is in that horizontal orientation. I'm going to jump over to a different file here. And you can see this one I've got in that portrait mode. So I'm just going to show how we get to that. Can I move you? I'm not a zoomer. Can I move this guy? Here, we'll just come down here. So in your design toolbar, there's a slide size option, and you're going to go to custom slide size. And they've got some pre-populated kind of paper sizes that you can choose. I always go with letter paper, especially if it's something that I think somebody might print out. But then it just puts your canvas in that portrait mode, gives you the parameters that a normal piece of paper, or if you're doing legal size documents, things like that. I really like to do this because PowerPoint gives you so much more free reign with moving stuff around. You can create stuff in Microsoft Word. It serves its purpose, but I like to really fine tune where stuff shows up on the screen. And sometimes I get so frustrated when you're trying to move something and it's got all the anchors and the wrapping and weird stuff happens in Word. So I like to do this for a lot of, anytime I'm creating anything, I jump out here, I change my orientation, and I work in PowerPoint. So that's, I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but just an extra tip and trick. And this is actually a document I have kind of broken down. I call kind of the anatomy of, and I just show how the different pieces are put together. So Adam's got a link to a RISE course, and it's got some working documents in here that you can kind of pull this apart. You can kind of see my notes over here. So be on the lookout for this after this morning's session.
And Jen, I actually just threw that in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
So the link to
Awesome.
that RISE course that Jen was just speaking of is right there in the chat. So feel free to open that up, bookmark that so you can get back to it at a later time, but a lot of really good information in there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go back to this guy. The other thing I wanted to mention that's really going to help, and I'm not sure if it's always set up for folks. If it's not, I'll kind of show you how to set it up, but I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Do you see how on my screen, it's got like the red dotted lines that show up, and it kind of helps you snap and make sure stuff is lined up? That's super helpful, especially going back to what we were talking about. In Word, you can't move stuff around easily and get it to go exactly where you want it. But in PowerPoint, you can. But it's easy to get things to kind of line up a little bit wonky. So I always like to set up my guides and my snap. I think it's called snapping, to make sure everything kind of looks good, crisp, clean lines. And again, you can do that up here in your, I believe it's under View. In this show section, you can set up your ruler to share, or to help you kind of visualize where stuff is on the page. You can set up grid lines if you work more in that kind of knowing where stuff sits kind of in quadrants and things like that on your slide, to be able to line things up that way. And then there's also these guides that just kind of show you the planes and where stuff is already on your canvas. So that's super helpful. If it's not already turned on, if when you move stuff around, you don't see those kind of red line guides, same thing in this show spot, you'll open up additional, the additional dialog box, and you'll just make sure your smart guides are on. So again, that's super helpful in just moving things around, making sure things are lined up, looking good on your slide. Questions so far? Everybody still with me?
Chat is still empty. You are good to go. Except for one Beautiful. That said, Claire mentioned being able to use PowerPoint in portrait mode is a game changer.
Yes. I open it up immediately. I hardly do anything in Word if I don't have to.
And we
Kind of
had,
oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was going to say, Sherry just also popped in. Can you show again how you enable that snap to grid?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in the view menu, and we're going to click on this. We're going to expand these options here, and it just gives you a few more. If you do turn on your grid lines, you can adjust how big or small those grids are. But it's this display smart guides when shapes are aligned. I think it's mixed on it. Sometimes I've opened up PowerPoint and they're already turned on. Sometimes they're not. So I'm not sure if yours is going to be already programmed to do all of that, but yeah, that's where you go. And it's super helpful. Next, I want to talk a little bit about alignment tools and grouping. And I'm going to pop over and I'm going to kind of talk about these shortcuts too. And I'm going to pop over to a blank slide here. So I'm going to create a couple shapes. And I'm going to share a couple things as I go. So number one, biggest, like your best friend in I think a lot of programs. Holding down your control key or holding down your shift key is going to help you create or move things in a very like uniform structured manner. So I'm going to create a circle. And you know how sometimes you've got to kind of adjust and see, you know, okay, that's too oval. I can't tell. I'm very particular. I want my stuff to be like a perfect circle every time. One way to do that is when you're going to create it, hold down your shift key and it's going to keep it in kind of a square, perfect circle format. That works with just about any shape in this menu. So again, you're trying, oh, I just changed that, my bad. Triangles, if you want to create one, you know, you've got the power to create any size shape of a triangle as you want. But if you want to be that perfect, like even all the way around shape, hold down your shift key. That works on so many things, many products, and it's a lifesaver that you're not having to sit there and figure out exactly how do I make this shape perfect. So that's like a huge helpful tip that I learned. I'm going to delete these. I'm going to create a couple circles here. So I want to talk about copying your shapes. I know a lot of people are familiar with copy and paste. An option that PowerPoint, I think, Articulate, I think quite a few things have a duplicate versus a copy. Duplicate is basically copy and paste all at once. And there's a shortcut for that. It's Control D, and it's going to make a uniform, same exact circle. Just popped it right on the page. Where I really like to use duplicate is actually with full slides. I'm gonna jump ahead here into these slides here. I want you to pay attention to the turtle circle up here, my where I've got the title, my text box, and my photo here. I'm gonna jump back into PowerPoint mode. And if you notice, there's like just this slight, I call it kind of a bounce. My title moved just ever so slightly. My pictures are kind of all different, and my text box here is in different places. A lot of times when you copy and paste stuff from one slide to the next, it doesn't go exactly where you want it to go. It doesn't go in the same exact spot. And sometimes that can be really distracting for your learners or anybody that's watching your presentations. So I actually like to duplicate my slides and then just change the text or change the photos that are on it, because then I know everything's in the exact same spot. So it's kind of it's more of a graphic design tip than PowerPoint, but you can use that duplicate to be able to do that. So let me show you what I mean. So here's kind of that after. Everything was duplicated from one to the next. Nothing bounces. You can just see my text changes and my photo changes. versus the kind of that bounce. Things kind of move from one place to the next. So that's duplicate. You can do that with, like I said, with shapes. You can do it with slides. Where I see that being beneficial, again, if I want something to show up at the same place on both this slide and the next, duplicating is going to make it. If you copy and paste, it's going to start trying to put it on, you know, wherever your mouse was when you pasted it. So that's definitely a helpful one. I think I see chat maybe lighting up a little bit. Are there some questions?
We just had Sherry mention that she loves the tip on duplicating. We had Alexis mentioned that she asked if Control D works in Word or just PowerPoint. And from what I can tell, it does also work in Word. I just tested it out on my, I just pulled up a Word document to verify. But yep, that does work in Word as well. And yeah, Control D was worth the price of admission, says Jen.
Good. Awesome. Awesome. I told somebody, as long as you get one nugget from
there
this.
You go. That's all that matters. Michelle did ask a question, just came in unrelated to Control D. But what's the purpose of your colored circles? You've got yellow, orange, red, looks like that gradient. What are you using those for?
Yeah, so I think this is maybe kind of a graphic design tip more than anything, but if you have your kind of set color scheme for your project, I was trying to mimic the ATD colors to kind of keep it on brand. So you can set your design, your color palette. Let's see if I go. Is there a way to make this go away? Hide video panel, is that right? Hide, there we go. Newbie here, learning on the fly. Okay, I'm gonna format, you have your row of colors here, and these are actually my principal colors here. I didn't want to create a whole new template or color theme in Microsoft, so I just picked these colors and dropped them here so that anytime learning on the fly here, there's an eyedropper tool that you can pick a color on anything that's on your screen and make it match. So if I want to turn this circle here, this color red, I'm going to use this eyedropper and I'm going to go grab that color and it changes that. So this kind of helps me do that you know, throughout the presentation. I've got it on some because I duplicated the slides. I don't have it on others, but that's what that is. If you kind of have a recurring color theme throughout your presentation, it's just kind of helpful to have that off to the side so you can easily grab those colors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I wonder if you could set that up on a slide master. I don't know if slide masters only do what's in the slide, or if they would allow you to put this on the outside. So if you did that,
that's a good question.
I'd have to go play with that, but that's something that would be another way to do it potentially.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I guess I'm not sure on that. I don't always use slide master. I haven't quite mastered it yet, but yeah, that's a good point. And I don't know, if you can capture something that's in the background. I would think so. We'll have to do some testing.
Yeah, I'll play with it and see what I find.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm just actually going to use that same thing. I'm going to grab a couple of these other colors here to demonstrate this next point of just alignment. So I've got these 3 circles here. I'm going to hold down the control key as I click these, and it's going to continue selecting each of your shapes. So anything while you're holding down control, you can see it very, very small next to my cursor. There's a little plus saying, I'm going to grab one more thing. I'm going to grab one more thing. So like I said, control is kind of your best friend. That's going to allow me to select these and move them all together as one unit and get them kind of where I want them to go. I don't know if you can tell, but these are not quite spaced evenly. They probably look okay, but this is where I'm going to use some alignment tools. I have them already in my quick access toolbar, but I'm going to show you how to find them. I'm going to go up here to my format. So I've got all 3 of these selected. I'm going to go up to format, and over here under the arrange section, there's some alignment tools. And I always kind of have to play around with them depending on what I'm trying to do. So let's say I want to line them all up. Here, I'm going to adjust these just a bit. Okay, I'm going to grab them all again. And I want to align them all. They're in one long line on the left. I'm going to click this button and it's going to zip them up and kind of put them in that uniform line. So you can use it that way. You can align them. I want to bring them, I like where this, the top right circle is. So I want to bring the rest of them up to that one. So I'm going to use align to top. And it just zips them right up there. You don't have to move them around. This is where you could use those smart guides, and those red dotted lines will come up and kind of show you around or show you where stuff is going. But those align tools just zip it right where it needs to go. And you don't have to do anything. So again, under format, the arrange button or the arrange section, and then your align tools. So I'm going to bring these back down here to kind of a normal place on the slide. And I actually just want to make sure that they're evenly spaced. They're just ever so slightly kind of off. In that same menu, there's a distribute section. So I want to distribute these horizontally. I want to make sure they're kind of evenly spaced across the middle of my slide. So I'm just going to hit this distribute horizontally. It's going to be a very minimal move, but you can see that middle one kind of jumped over. So that just gives it that even space in between.
Jen, I had one question come in from Darcy. Actually, I had two. One other just popped in. So the first one was how you set those colors that we just, like your color palette. Was that just adding shapes and then changing the fill to them there on the left?
Yep. Same way that I created these. They're just anything that falls off of your canvas won't show in a presentation. It's just kind of off to the side. So yep. Those are just shapes. They don't have to be circles. They can be whatever you want. This is kind of just my play space, if you will, to leave notes. Sometimes I'll leave notes out here. You can put text boxes, anything around the outside. Like I said, it won't show up when you're in presentation mode, but that's a good place to kind of leave. Sometimes if I have icons or different graphics I know I want to use somewhere, instead of clogging up my canvas, I'll put them over here.
Sure.
So yeah, anything that you can put on your canvas, you can have off your canvas too.
Yep. And then there's a question that came in about how to get the format drop-down button. That I know that one only will show up once you select an object, then the format will show up there. And then do you know Cindy asked, the align selected object is selected. Is that a default setting, or do you need to select that to get this to work? So the align selected objects. Maybe Cindy, can you unmute and maybe talk a little bit more about that question?
Yeah, right there at the bottom. See where the check mark? Yeah, is that a default, Jen, or did you have to set that?
I don't remember ever setting it, so I'm guessing it's a default. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if that's not selected, if then the magic doesn't quite work.
It would just do it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think I ever set that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to cover real quick, while we've got all of these selected, if I know I'm going to be adjusting them together every time I do anything with them, if I know I'm going to make them larger, smaller, make any adjustments to them, and I want to adjust them as a unit, you can actually group them. And instead of having 3 individual pieces, you're making one unit. So to do that, in this same arrange button, there's a group button up here. So you can group them together and see it went from those 3 boxes to one big box. You can still go in and, make adjustments to individual ones if you want to, so that you're not like merging them necessarily, but you are making them kind of one unit. You can also do it by right-clicking. So I've already got them grouped. I can ungroup them the same way, and it brings them back to those 3 individual shapes. This is really helpful. I don't know if you get stuff where like you have stuff exactly where you want them, but then I want to move them, and you want to move all 3 of them, and you grab one, and it's very frustrating when you want to grab all of them at once. And instead of having to hold that control button each time and moving them, I just group them. Sometimes I'll do this. Do you see my guides kind of came up? Sometimes I'll do this now that I know they're evenly spaced. Now I want them kind of in the middle of the slide exactly. I might group them to be able to pull them exactly where they need to go. And I might ungroup them again. Kind of depends on what I'm doing with them. But that's just a way to kind of pick everything up all at once, not change any of the formatting, pick them up as a group, drop them at a new place.
And before you move on, Jen, just real fast, I had one question or one ask. Can you show just real quickly one more time how you use the eyedropper to fill the object?
Yep. I think you can do this, anything that you're making changes to the color. So in these drawing tools, we're gonna go to format, and then you can do it with shape fill. I think you can do it with outline too. Anywhere where you're choosing a color. So you can choose, from your colors here. I'm gonna go to this eyedropper, and it's just gonna grab, so it can grab, if I wanted it to get the background color of the canvas, pretty much anywhere you go. You'll see the little square shows you what color you're pulling. And you just pick up that color and it changes. I do think that some of your recent colors will stay down here. So if you don't want to set up your kind of color palette over here, they will stay over here. But if you have a bunch of different projects with a bunch of different colors, sometimes that gets kind of clogged up. So again, if you have them over here, you're safe, you're going to get those exact same colors. Any other questions?
Nothing so far in the chat, just some good conversation and additional pro tips people are sharing.
Awesome. Yeah, so these are kind of my basic nuggets. Once you kind of have these things mastered, the rest of what we're going to talk about kind of comes, pretty easily. You can use these tips and tricks all throughout. Again, if you have Storyline, these all work, uniformly pretty much in Storyline too. So keep these in your back pocket. Hopefully they've sparked some interest for you.
And Jen, just so you know as well, time check, it's 9 o'clock right now. I don't know if you're looking at your clock as well, but just want to make sure you know as far as time goes where you're at.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to skip ahead because we kind of already talked about this is just that duplication, making sure your slides are uniform from one to the next. You can kind of see in my preview here the pictures adjusting. So just a little tweak to your canvas or to the look of your slides to make things a little bit more uniform and not, sometimes you find the learners kind of watching, okay, where's it going to be this time? Kind of like that, the DVD player screen when you're waiting to see where the triangle, if it's going to hit in the perfect corner. So I always like to duplicate things there. So now I'm going to jump into some creating really basic e-learning content. You don't have to have fancy tools. You're not going to be able to create fully functioning, clickable, interactive content that you could with obvious e-learning tools, but there's some kind of cool built-in things that you can do in PowerPoint to give it kind of that similar feel of a course. So I'm going to show you how to create a menu of sorts. So I've got these slides here. If you're at the Professional Development Day, our theme was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, so I carried that through here. I've got steps on how to build or to put together a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So I've got these slides here, and I've broken them into sections. So this is kind of a two-part tip here. You can see in my sorter here, these kind of section headers. If you're not familiar with those, you can click on a slide. You're going to right-click, and you're going to add a section. You can name it. This one was already named menu slide, but we're here. Menu 2. So it's going to pull anything that falls from that slide on into that section. So I went and each of these, so I've got my prepare, my gather, my construct, and my cleanup. So I just created a new section for each of those. And that's important, or that's useful for a lot of different things. If you're presenting with multiple people, this is maybe how you can outline who's speaking about what. And so instead of maybe putting it in your notes, you organize it this way. This can also help you outline like just your agenda when you need to break up your content or to switch to a new topic. So this part isn't necessarily e-learning, but just presentations in general, this section part. So now you can see I've got kind of these header or these section breaks, kind of the highlight, the opening slide for each section. I'm going to turn that into a menu. Let me unhide you. So we're going to create what we call a section zoom. We're going to go to insert and then zoom. I'm going to click on this section zoom. The other two do some cool things too, but this one's probably the easiest to highlight here. In that course that Adam dropped in, I've got a video from Microsoft that shows kind of the differences between the two or the three, but we're going to talk about section zoom. So these are all of my slides that are in this presentation, or that are the first, sorry, it's going to be the first slide of each section. So we're going to go in and we're going to select the peanut butter and jelly sections. So I'm going to do this prepare one. I'm going to do my gather. I'm going to do my construct sandwich and my cleanup. So whatever sections you want to pull into this menu, we'll just grab them here. We're going to insert them. So what it's doing is it's grabbing, basically you're creating jump links to these slides. It's just doing it for you. So it populated these thumbnails of those slides that we already have created. And you can adjust them, you can move them around. I used my control button to select them all. You can resize them, move them around. You can actually change them completely. So if you don't have this pretty picture here, but you have another thumbnail image you'd like to use, you can customize these. So I just right-clicked on the one that it auto-populated. You can go to change image and pull in whatever image you want. With me so far? So here's the cool part. I'm going to put this in presentation mode. I'm going to click on prepare your workspace, and it's going to zoom me into that very first slide. When I go to my next slide, it's my first, my steps for my prepare piece. I'm going to hit enter again. It takes me back to that menu. Now I can click on number 2, and it's going to go through the slides I have in this section. I'm just going to pull me back out, and I can jump around to any of them. You don't have to go in order, but again, it just zooms you in. You go through your content, and you come back. So super, super basic. You're not going to be able to add in things like, okay, you've already visited, the prepare your workspace section. You can't add any of those kind of variable pieces that you could with other e-learning software. But this is just a really, really super basic way to get your content a little bit more in that realm of e-learning, where it's clickable. It's not just slides in a presentation deck.
Jen, you're blowing minds. Just throwing that out there.
So far?
Blowing minds.
Good. So one thing, I'm going to take this a step further. So in order to give this to your learners, sure, you could send them just the PowerPoint deck itself, tell them to put it in PowerPoint mode, and it's going to do what we just saw. You can actually save files as a PowerPoint show. So it builds everything, it combines everything, and when somebody opens it, it just opens in slideshow mode. So I'll show you how to do that quick here. So we're going to go to save as, and in your drop down here, it's going to auto fill with just a PowerPoint presentation. We're going to go down here to PowerPoint show. So it's this PPSX. Like I said, that bundles everything together, and when you open it, it just opens already on that kind of front page menu. And I do have that saved. I feel like I'm on a cooking show. I have that already saved right here. So here's my PB&J e-learning PPSX slideshow, PowerPoint slideshow. I'll just open that so you can see what would happen. Thanks here. Open me right to this same slide. Learners can just jump in, go through their thing. Go through all of them. When it's done, when you get to the last slide of the presentation, it just closes, it ends. So super easy way to just send, you know, quick content to your learners. Anything can be on those slides after that section header, if you will. But super easy way to just package things, make it super easy for the learner to pick it up, do the thing, and make it go away. Questions?
Yeah, Jen, can you just real quick, maybe just like 30-second summary of what you just showed us? The section zoom?
Yep. So so I had to break my slides into sections. And we did that by, on the slide, I want to make my section header, right click, add section, name your section. So we've got prepare, gather, construct, and clean up. I have a blank slide. So if let me take these out real quick. A blank slide, blank slate. You can do whatever you want on this. You can make it as pretty and fancy as you want, but we're going to go up to, I'm in insert, zoom, section zoom. And it's going to give you, here's your, basically your thumbnails, those markers or those hot spots, jump links that you're creating to each of those sections. Insert and arrange. And so they work just like any other graphic that you'd insert. What's really cool, if you need to change something, prepare your space. I'm going to go back up to here. It updates in your thumbnail too. So that's one bonus. If you don't add your own pictures in here, it will do whatever changes on this slide. It's going to adjust here. So it's kind of a live snapshot of your section header.
Awesome. Thank you.
To cover
Yep.
everything. Perfect. Cool. The other thing I wanted to show that maybe you hadn't thought of before, but you know when you go to like a new app, or if there's updates to an app, I'm going to go back into presentation mode here, and you're greeted with this like, hey, this is where this thing is now, or walking through the steps on how to complete blah. You saw a couple things because this is a new laptop and I haven't done some things in PowerPoint. I got those little like help bubbles. Why not create it in PowerPoint? You don't need those fancy tools to do it. Of course you can. This isn't going to be nearly as interactive and robust as what you could do in an authoring tool, but you can easily call out system demos, showing people around on a certain thing. So I have a couple examples of what you could do, starting from the very basic. So this would be, if you're going to save this document as just a static PDF, I pulled up some, I think they're really old, Facebook, how to change your profile picture. So we're going to take a tour, or whatever verbiage you want to use. So I highlighted, or just with a shape, a square with no fill, where this profile picture is. So I'm highlighting the spot that I want the learner to pay attention to. And I added this call out here. And then I've got some information here about what the profile picture is. On my next page, it jumps to another section. Again, same thing. It's a box, and I'll show you the deconstructed version here in a minute. But it's just a square around the piece of information that we want to talk about. We've got a call out here and more information here. So just walking you through these 3 or 4, I can't remember how many I have here, things on this page. And you're just adding simple text boxes and squares and shapes and whatever it might be. This is another thing that's going to be included in that RISE course, is a deconstructed version of this. You can kind of pull things apart and see how it was put together. But that's like step number 1, super basic. You're gonna just save this as a PDF and a learner can scroll through and just see, we're gonna jump from this one to this one to this one. Super easy. Next, we're gonna talk about how to do it a little bit more interactive. We're gonna make it clickable. So I'm gonna pop this back into slideshow mode here. So instead of highlighting each thing individually, I'm gonna give the learner the opportunity to select what they want to find out about. So like it says here, click on each plus for more details. So I'm going to click on this and it's going to give me this information here about profile picture. I'm going to click on cover photo. The text over here changes and explains what's in the cover photo. Same thing with that toolbar. I also added a little spot here to give them kind of that home, take me back to where I started, just to get them back to this final menu, or this first menu here. So another way to do, we're talking about the same things, we're just making it a little bit more interesting and giving the learner the opportunity to choose what they want to look at. All these are shapes. So this is, let me zoom in here. This is a circle shape with, must be just a text plus. And I'm going to turn this into a hyperlink. So you can do this with just about any shape, any object on your slide that somebody can click on when you're in presentation mode. Somebody can click on and jump to something else. It might open up another document somewhere else on your computer. It might take you to a website, or it might just jump to a different place in your presentation. So I'm going to grab this circle here, and I think you can do insert. I never do it this way. Somewhere up here, there's probably a hyperlink spot link. So here's where you can edit your hyperlink. Again, you can put it to go anywhere in an existing file or web page. This is what I use, this place in document. So this gives you your whole list of slides that are available. And I'm telling it, I want it, when they click on this shape, I want it to go to slide 28. And I'm going to click OK. And you do that for each of your shapes. You can also right click and you'd insert shape, insert link. I already have the link here, so I'm going to edit the link and just show you. This one goes to slide 29. And then I'm guessing this one goes to slide 30. So simple jump link on those pages with the home button. Oops, too far zoomed in. Same thing. It's an icon, a home icon just from Microsoft. The link is just taking me back to slide 27, that very first menu slide, if you will. What questions? Kind of flew through that.
Haven't seen anything in the chat, but Lindsay mentioned Control K
Okay.
also opens up that hot link
Yes,
for editing a
thank you.
hyperlink, or adding or editing rather.
Yep. So you'll have your, circle, your shape highlighted, and then Control K brings up that same hyperlink menu. This is also helpful. You can choose for it to send an email. So if you need somebody to contact you, if they have questions, you can drop an email address in here, and instead of taking them somewhere, it'll open up their default email platform and start an email. You can even set the subject. I've done that sometimes, like, I need help. You can set that here, and it auto-populates all of that for you and starts the email. And then the user can just go in and send their email. So the third option is a little bit more interactive and gives not only the control of exploring whatever you want them to explore. I take that back. This one doesn't let them explore whatever they want. It tells them how to do it and puts it in the context of how they would actually make that change. So I'm going to pop back into slideshow mode. So we want to get them to practice, right? We want to get them doing it and doing it the way that they're going to do it in real life. So, we've got your text over here in your instructions. Click profile picture. I'm going to click that. It's going to take me to the next page. So it makes the learner feel like, I just clicked that. I'm going to start the upload process. So there's two ways. You can upload, you can take a photo. Click the upload photo, and it's going to jump me to the next spot. An added nugget, kind of the same thing we did on the last page. I don't really want them to go through this choose file. You don't really have a next step for them to complete or a place to click on the screen to go do whatever. I just add a little arrow here so that they know, hey, this is where you go next. So this is all done the exact same way. It's all hyperlinks. This is a shape with no fill. We're putting it a little bit more into the context of how somebody would actually change their profile picture. So starting with the very basics, that's just scrollable. The next one was clickable. And then this one is more interactive and contextual. Any questions?
Nothing that I'm seeing in the chat.
Okay. Hopefully this is kind of just sparking. Again, these are things that you don't have to use for e-learning. You know, there might be other reasons you want to use these, but just thinking about how to package things like things in the real world. You know, we open up stuff all the time that shows you around. Why not recreate it or do something similar? The learners are going to be kind of familiar with that experience. So let's serve it up in PowerPoint at a very basic level.
Yeah, and actually we just had a question come in. Kimberly, go ahead and unmute and fire away.
Thank you, Jen, for this. It's really amazing. The third option, really the process of creating it is no different. You just added in more context. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You're kind of giving them instructions on what you want them to click. So then they're kind of feeling familiar with, if I do this, then this happens.
Okay.
You won't be able to use it in the same way to provide, you know, if you in e-learning tools, if you provide that feedback of like, that's not the right place to click. I guess technically you could have it drive to like a slide that says, nope, that's not correct. You can't necessarily do those pop-ups. There might be a really intricate way you can do that, but for the sake of this,
No, this is great. Thank you
awesome.
so much.
Yeah. And I have this, again, this is going to be something that's in that takeaway Rise course. It's got some kind of pro tips in here. Just from a design perspective, give your learners like some kind of clue of what they need to be doing. So make their, you know, make instructions, tell them exactly what you want them to do so they know how to interact with your piece, especially when you're doing stuff that's a little bit more interactive with PowerPoint, because they might just be used to those like click through. You can bundle all of these as PDF documents if you wanted to make this your performance support. If you want this to be like a job aid after the fact, those links will still work. It might just not have that same contextual feel just based on how that PDF opens on their machine. They can still scroll through from top to bottom. They just might not have that same interactive feel in some of these more follow those instructions.
Just getting lots of kudos in the chat. No other
Sweet.
questions that I see in there right now. Just a reminder, somebody did ask if they can get a copy of this presentation deck. It is linked in the Rise course that I said. I just put another link to it in the chat, and you can download it from there if you need it after the session.
Yeah.
And we're at about 10-minute warning, just in case you were paying attention to time.
So I'll try to get through these next couple pretty quickly, and then we'll kind of wrap it all up by bundling all of this into a video. So next, I just wanted to talk through animation and transition. At the beginning, I talked about, you know, there's lots of kind of cheesy and distracting animations, transitions that you can do. I think my leaders, just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's always the running joke in our department is you have all of these things at your fingertips, but don't just spew them and throw them on your slide just because you've got the option to. So you can kind of see I've got an 8-step process. And I meant to put a little bit of, I meant to put a graphic in here, but I forgot. But this is just maybe an easy way to show, one, how to use animations kind of in a subtle, meaningful way. And then I've got a transition built in here too. So I'm just kind of walking through how we set up these next 2 slides. So instead of having, you know, I have text and a picture for each of these 4, actually 8 things. That can be really overwhelming to your learner or to your user. And they might be reading ahead. If you want to sit here and talk about step 1, only show them the things that matter that you're talking about right now. Then make it go away and show the next thing. So this is just a really easy way to show and hide your stuff just by adding just a little bit of life to your slide. So I'm going to go into the next slide. And if you watch the transition closely, we're going to pull the slide into the next one. And we're going to keep going. So same thing, we're just going to introduce content as we're talking about it. It's going to go away and the next thing's going to come up. So how I created this, I'm going to show you, it's probably kind of a mess. But I'm going to go into my animations, and you can see all the numbers here of animations that I've added. And in my which animation is used, you will see that I have multiple. There's an animation pane here that's going to show everything on this slide and what each box or each object is doing. And so this kind of takes some learning and some playing around with to get things to work and look how you want it to. But basically, I have my step 1 coming in, and then when I click, it goes away, and step 2 comes in. So the green animations are entrance animations, and the red are exit. And so to add these, you'll select your object, and up here I'm in the animations. Make this go away again. I'm in the animations section here. You've got a ton of these at your fingertips. Again, some of these are a little bit, I would use them sparingly. Maybe this bounce or this swivel, I think those are kind of distracting, but they might serve their purpose. But some of these you can see, this one's a fade. So it just subtly fades in. And then when we make it go away, what do we have set here? Oh, it just goes away, just falls off the screen. So it takes some time to figure out what you want it to do. And then you just click on each group of things, and you tell it how you want it to show up and when. And then over here, you can kind of play with, does it happen automatically? When I click this is set to be on click, but some of these other ones happen with the previous. So after I click, all of these other things happen at the same time. So I don't know how familiar you are with animations, but you can do very cool things. Just be mindful and be subtle with what you're doing. I have a note in here to remember to tell you about Animation Painter. Let's say you want the exact same thing to happen from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. There's a little button up here called Animation Painter, and it kind of just what it's saying here. Whatever is on this one, you can copy it to this object. So you're grabbing kind of the same way you think about the eyedropper. It's pulling that animation instead of the color, and it's applying it to this one instead, or in addition to. So that's kind of a helpful thing. Once you kind of have things set how you want them to be, use that animation painter and quickly just go through like, yep, I want the same thing to happen on step 2, step 3. Over here in your animation pane, and if that doesn't automatically show up, it's in this same animation menu here. And you can fine tune and make adjustments there. That pull effect that I did, you can kind of see my dotted line falls off the canvas a little bit. I do that just to make sure there's not like a weird gap from slide 36 to slide 37. But everything's in the exact same place, and I have this line falling off the other way. So this is actually transition. Transition is from slide to slide. Animation is just stuff on your slide. So I have this one as a push. It's doing exactly what it's saying. It's pushing something from one direction or the other. So you've got some effect options. I want it to come from the right. So it's going 36. 37 is coming from the right and showing up on the screen. So that's what gives it that kind of pull feel. And because we have the thing falling off the slide on the edge, there's kind of a seamless action happening. Questions on that?
Did not have any on that. Did have one question pop up earlier for you, Jen. Lindsay asked if you have any type of rule of thumb for when you use the laptop graphic versus something else.
Not always. It kind of depends on what I'm showing, or for some of these examples up here, since we were just highlighting what these pieces were, I wanted to give as much view of that screenshot as I could. I put it on the laptop more so to be like that context of this is what it's going to look like when I'm actually on my desktop or my laptop working with this thing. So that's kind of the difference between these two. I wanted to give this that more cohesive, real life example of what it would feel like.
Awesome. Thank you.
I know we are down to 3 minutes, but I'm super like jazzed about, like, if you take anything away, morph. Morph, morph, morph. It is the coolest thing in the world. And you can do so many things. Like, I would encourage you to go out to YouTube, check it out. There's so many cool things you can do with it. And I totally geek out about this. So you can see in my preview here, I've got 3 slides and this little sunshine. This is a really very basic graphic. This sunshine is in 3 different places. Well, what morph is gonna do is it's gonna find that sunshine on each, it's going to find that similar object on each slide, and it's going to, it's a transition. So from slide to slide, it's going to slowly morph from one slide to the next, and it kind of just subtly moves. So now we're on the second slide, and now it's slowly moving to the third slide. The graphic started small here. It's behind the thing here. It's slightly bigger here, and it's much bigger here and in a completely different place. So it's finding that common thing and then just smoothly animating it from point A to point B to point C. That's the super basic explanation of it, but I'm going to show you a couple different ways of how I used it. Like I said, it finds those similar objects. It also works with words. So I'm going to put this in slideshow mode, and this is actually how I created the promo video for this event. I've added a bunch of animations to these words, and it's just changing, it's finding those similar things and just changing them and making it just kind of come to life a little bit more. I'm not doing any animation to it. It's just finding, like on these circle things, it's finding the circle that's navy on this page and green on this. And it's just ever so slightly morphing, fading it from one to the next. On this guy, it moved from this location to this location, changed colors. Again, it found it from 44 to 45. It found it, it slid it, moved it. But I didn't do anything except turn on morph. It's the coolest thing, like once you figure out all the things that it can do, and it just makes your stuff look super awesome. I don't know if I did that any justice. Like I said, there's some really cool videos. People have come up with the coolest things that they can do with morph. It's in that Rise course, and I really encourage you to check it out.
So one final question, Jen, before we wrap up, comes from Dan. If you rapid fire, 3 design principles you follow, or top 3 design that you usually use.
Yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I think people get really jazzed about, you know, brand colors and graphics and things like that. Don't spill it all on the slide. Break up your content. You can use graphics to do that in so many different ways, especially in PowerPoint. You could cover everything on one slide, but you can also make it easier to digest by splitting it into 3 slides. So that'd probably be number 1. Number 2, make your stuff just easy to use. I mentioned before, you want your learner to just be able to pick up what it is you want them to complete and know what to do with it. You might need a few instructions here and there, but it should be intuitive. Make things look like things in real life. Number 3, just open your mind. Like, get your inspiration from just about anywhere. If somebody thinks that they want an infographic, I go out and I beg, borrow, and steal from the internet. I will go out and I will Google infographic, and I recreate it and make it my own brand, or make it apply to the content that I have. So the biggest key to art and creativity is stealing from other people. That is number 3.
I lied. One final thing is that morph, does it just, it's a slide transition. So does that just grab anything on the slide, or do you apply it to specific things?
Nope, it grabs everything on the slide. It's so this you can see I've got the text is kind of bigger on this slide and it's smaller on this slide. So it's grabbing it from slide 41 and just changing it however we moved it or changed it to slide 42.
Perfect.
It's definitely one you have to play around with, but it is, yeah, it's the full slide. It's just trying to find common objects and getting from point A to point B in a smooth, seamless fashion.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, I know that we are out of time, or we're technically 2 minutes over. So I want to give a big virtual round of applause to Ms. Jenn Cunningham for a wonderful session. Really great stuff. I appreciate
Thank
everybody's participation in the chat. Really good stuff. Again, I'll post this recording out on the ATD Central Iowa Facebook page, LinkedIn. I'll link to it on YouTube, on Twitter, and I'd encourage you to follow the ATD Central Iowa accounts on all social media platforms and be on the lookout for another really great Tech SIG and year of events happening in 2021. So have a very wonderful holiday season and great new year, everybody. Thanks for coming in today. And Jenn, thank you again for all of your hard work and preparation and wonderful content here this morning.
Awesome.
All right, have a good one, everybody.
Bye.